Hello everyone, Sage Monaldo here. So today I wanted to go over a few matches with the Op-14 2020 Chopper deck list. I already went through the deck list on another video, so today I'm just focusing on matches just because I wanted to show you all how the deck performs against different leaders in Op-14. If you would like to check out the breakdown of the deck list, I will link the video in the description so that you can check it out. First up, we're going against Mihawk, and in this match, we really want to go first, just because we can do a bit more pressure, and also because that is Mihawk's curves as well. I mulligan always for the 3-drop Searcher Chopper from OP08, however in this case we didn't get it unfortunately. So we just go ahead and pass on the first turn because we don't have nothing to play. And we are pretty much hoping to draw into that 3-drop Searcher Chopper. However, if we don't, in this case, I'm just thinking about just playing the human drill and swinging 5 to life because it allows me to rest whatever character the opponent has played, for example, the Perona, and I can just swing into it, preventing them from being able to restand for free. However, in this case, I don't worry too much about the Perona because they already have the stage. So I just swing 5 to life to be able to start getting cards from the life from the hand. In this case, they just give me a 1k, so I just go ahead and play out, in this case, the blocker chopper because I want to preserve the 2ks. And in any case, I'll just be able to start swinging next turn, and I'm not worrying about resting anything at this time. So now that we have passed, what I'm actually looking for is either the 3-drop Searcher Chopper or the 5-cost Rush Luffy, like we just got from our life, just because it allows me to keep on pressuring the life in this matchup. The rush cards are very important because I can avoid the 5-drop Perona that freezes our board. So the fact that they didn't play out any additional characters is very good for us because they won't be able to go for our board. In this case, I counter out because I don't want to go too low on life. It is very essential to kind of stay around 3 life on this matchup early on because we want to avoid them just stunning the whole board and just focusing on life. Now I just go ahead and play out the 5-cost Luffy, use leader effect to give 1 down to our blocker chopper and swing 5 to life. Here the opponent is just going to counter with a 1k because we have 2 more swings to go. And after that we have the option of either doing 5-7 or attacking first with the Luffy and swinging 6 and 6. Swinging 6 and 6 is a good option too because Mihawk doesn't run too many 2ks, so we are forcing them to either use the event early and over counter or be able to just get double 1ks from their hand. In this case, I just went 5 and 7 because I wanted to incentivize countering with the 5 drops such as Ishigi or Perona because I want to avoid them playing character cards early on. And then just swinging 7 with the Luffy to get the counter event that the opponent already had. So in this turn, they get to 6, so they are able to play out one of their 5 drops, either the Toshigi or the Perona. The Perona in this case is the worst option for us because it's going to stun both characters that we have on the board and the opponent can just focus on going for life. Since we don't have any additional characters, this really slows down our gameplay. So unfortunately the opponent did have the Perona and it stuns our characters here. If they would swing into the chopper, I would just let it go because I am not going to be able to attack with it the next turn. So it'll just function as a blocker, helping us to maintain a bit of counter in our hands. So in this case, our opponent just goes ahead and uses the leader effect and rests the stage to restand 3 Dawn. And he replaces the stage with another one to just draw a card and cycle his hand and provides 2 Dawn to leader and goes 7 into life. And here I just take it because I don't want to go too low on hand size. Unfortunately, we get the 9-drop Zoro, which is almost a dead card in this match, but we do top deck the 3-cost Searcher Chopper, which is going to help us a lot. And we get the 3-cost Odyssey Chopper, which is pretty good because it helps us to maintain our board state because it restands at the end of the turn. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and swing 8 to life. I don't want to play any other cards and I want to avoid the 1 cost events. So I go 8 to life so that they either give me a 2 cost event or just go ahead, take the life, or give me 2 cards to counter. In this case, they just take the life, which is pretty good for us, and we can just go ahead and restand our chopper. So our opponent is now at 8 Dawn, if I am not mistaken, and they can either play the 7-drop Shanks, which many Mihawks run, or they can just go ahead and play another Perona. In this case, the opponent just opts to play out a Kikunojo, and I assume they just want to have more characters to be able to attack with, and they might not have another 5-drop to play out. And our opponent just goes ahead and swings 7 to life in this case, which I left it down up to be able to use a Dead Man's Game, as I am more worried of not having enough cards to counter than using it late game, because they are going to be playing around it because they just can restand on at the end of the turn using the stage or using the leader effect. So it is easier for them to play around the Dead Man's Game, and I would much rather use it for the counter at this time. The opponent then just goes ahead and attaches Dawn into the leader and swings another 7 into life. And in this case, I am just thinking, what other plays can they do? I'm thinking that they can just swing with the Perona that is still standing, or they could play out something else, but they only have 4 Dawn up, and if they restand with leader effect, they will be able to play a 5-drop. And since I didn't want to go too low on hand size, I opted to take this hit so that I can counter later on if they swing into my board, or if they go for game, I'm able to sort of bluff to be able to go for game on the next turns, just because I have a lot of 2Ks in my hand. Here our opponent doesn't seem to have any additional plays, so they just go ahead and attach Dawn into the standing Perona and swing 5 to life to be able to leave 2 Dawn standing for counter events. So I thought about countering with the EBO2 chopper, but I opted to counter with the Odyssey chopper in case I get an OBO4 chopper, so I can play out the EBO2 chopper from my hand and give out an additional rested Dawn, just in case I need that additional Dawn to be able to go for a bigger attack. So we top deck the 2K Sanji, which is pretty good. Here I play out the 9 cost Zoro, even if I won't be able to attack with him. But the reason I play him out is because I want to force our opponent to either go for game or play out the 9 cost Mihawk. If they play the 9 cost Mihawk, it is sort of a slow turn for them, because in this case I have 5 attacks that are going to be going in, and next turn I can attack 5 times because I have a lot of counter in my hand to be able to protect my board. And if they do opt to go for life, they don't have much characters on board that could potentially be a threat in this turn, so I just go ahead and reserve the counter that I have in my hand to be able to survive the next turn and go for game on the next one. So in this case, I swing 5 with the Odyssey chopper, 5 with the blocker, and 5 with leader, and now I can just go ahead and swing 6 with the Searcher chopper, and I go ahead and I play out the EBO2 chopper because I am able to give out a rested Dawn, and I can swing higher and force them to either give me double counter events or be able to take more cards out of their hand. So I play out the EB chopper and replace it with the blocker chopper because I want to be able to restand the Odyssey one, so I don't want to replace that one. And I just go ahead, swing 7 with the Searcher chopper, and then I have another 7 with the Rush Luffy because I can give him a rested Dawn with his effect when attacking. So our opponent seems to be thinking here how to counter. They only have the 2 cost event, so in this case I can swing another 7 and force 2 cards out of the hand or take another life. So since our opponent is now at 1 life and I have the 9 cost Zoro on the board, they are forced to either go for game or play out the 9 cost Mihawk to be able to stun the Zoro. And it puts them in a position where they are very limited because they either play the Mihawk and leave the rest of the Dawn standing to be able to counter out with any potential events that they may have on their hand, or attach more Dawn to their characters to be able to potentially remove some of the characters that I have on my board since it is currently full. So currently I'm not in a position where I am afraid of losing this turn. We have 4 2Ks on our hand and a 1K with still a life, and also our opponent only has one 6K character and the rest are just 2K, and also the leader. So our opponent proceeds to go on the defensive and plays out the stun event to stun 2 of our characters, and they can just use the leader effect to restand those 3 Dawn, which it makes it free for them. However, this tells me that they are not going to be playing the 9 cost Mihawk and lets me know that I will be able to swing with the Zoro next turn. So I take into consideration this so I can counter with the 2K Sanji last, just in case for any reason they play out multiple blockers or anything like that. And I can counter out with the other 2Ks before in the event that they go for game. So they give out 4 Dawn to Perona and swing 10 to life, which just leaves them with 6 Dawn for a potential 11 to life. So in this case, I just take the life and it's another 2K because I know I'm able to counter out any swing that they do, and it allows me to avoid any counter events in the next turn. So they do go 11 to life. I just go ahead and give them all the 2Ks that I have in hand, preserving the Sanji just in case. And in the following turn, I am able to go for game using the 9 drop Zoro. And I also still have 2 additional characters on the board and the leader, while our opponent is at 1 life. So I just go ahead and give Zoro 5 Dawn to be able to swing 14 3 times with the Zoro, but also have Dawn to swing with the other characters as well. So for the first swing, I go 14 to life and our opponent takes the life, and in this case I just go ahead and swing 14 again, and our opponent doesn't have enough counter. As you can see, Mihawk runs a lot of breaks, and although they have a lot of events to be able to counter out, they struggle a bit against swarm decks just because they can't keep up with all the attacks that are coming in, and they won't be able to leave so many Dawn to be able to use all the events that they have. So with that said, let's go ahead into our next match. Next up, we're going against the new Dofi leader. So we mulligan our first hand because we don't have much to play, but our second hand is perfect. We have the 1 cost Nami to be able to start off searching, and we have the 3 cost Searcher Chopper that we also got a second one on our search. And also, since this is going to be a slow matchup, we have the 9 cost Zoro that we can use to close out the game. So we go ahead and attack the Sugar with our Nami, which the opponent gives us a 2K counter, which we don't mind because we want to get rid of those cards in the hand as quickly as possible. So I go ahead and I swing with leader into the Sugar because I don't want them to be able to keep searching, and in any case it's just going to be a blocker later on. So I go ahead and play out the 3 cost Searcher Chopper into Human Drill, and I want to be sure to be able to play these Human Drills just because I want to be able to rest the characters that the opponent is going to be playing out so that I don't have to worry of them being blockers later on. So our opponent is now at 4 Dawn, and they have a few options to play out. They can play out a few cards to be able to keep ramping, and that's what they do. They play out the Baby 5 and ramp 1, which on KO, Dawn -1, they are able to heal a life, which is an excellent card for the Dofi matchup. They go ahead and swing 6 into Human Drill, which I decide to counter out because I want to be able to maintain the pressure on the board. And we go ahead and get another 3 cost Chopper, which is perfect because we are able to maintain our board state. So we go ahead, we swing 5 with Human Drill and rest the Baby 5, so that we can just swing into it with our Nami and not worry about having to play around it because it'll just be a blocker later on. So our opponent decided to take the life, so now we go ahead and we swing with the Nami into the Baby 5 so that we can avoid having to swing into it when our opponent uses the leader effect. Since our opponent is debating as to countering or not, but they go ahead and let it go, and they decide to use the effect to heal. So we go ahead and we swing 6 with the Searcher Chopper and play out a Megalo. We don't get to use the effect because we can't rest it as it comes out rested, but we are able to give it a Dom with leader effect and play it out with the Chopper, so it is a perfect target. So we swing 7 and they take, and we just go ahead and pass and restand our Odyssey Chopper. Our opponent is already at 3 life, and although they have a bunch of cards in their hand, our whole board is completely full and we are still at 4 life, so we can maintain the pressure here. And our opponent swings 5 into Human Joe. I just go ahead and give him a 2k counter because I want to make sure to keep swinging as much as possible so that I can maintain the pressure and I can play out the 9 cost Zoro once I hit the 9 Dawn and be able to go for game on the next turn. So in this case, we draw into the 2k Sanji, and I won't play the 3 cost Chopper because I already have 2 of them on board and I don't want to play over the cards that I already have. So I go ahead and give 3 Dawn to Megalo because I am going to swing with the Searcher Chopper later on to replace Megalo and use leader effect to give out those 3 Dawns that I just gave Megalo, so I can maximize the Dawn that I am using in this turn. So opponent uses leader effect to target the Megalo attack to the character that they had on board, which allows them to ramp, which is okay because I am just going to keep poking at the opponent's life to be able to get all the cards out of their hand, so that once I play out the 9 cost Zoro, it is easier to go for game. So I go ahead and swing 5 with the Searcher Chopper and I replace Megalo with the Odyssey Chopper. And now I went ahead and used the leader effect to give out those rested Dawn that I use. So I'm debating here if I should swing another 5 or swing higher. However, I decided to go 5 first since our opponent has done that up. I don't want to commit more Dawn so that they can just over counter. And in this case, they use the slow sloping to counter out and also rest the 3 cost Chopper that I had on the board. So I just go ahead and do a double 7 into life so that I can get either 2 cards from the hand and maybe a life, or get 4 cards out depending on what the opponent has. So they took the first life, countered the second, which is great. We just go ahead and restand our 2 Odyssey Choppers, and I'm here counting how many 2Ks they have. So next turn, I still have a good board because they haven't gotten the chance to get rid of any of my characters. So even if they get a 1 or maybe 2 characters on this turn, I'm still going to have enough to be able to keep applying pressure on the next turn while also playing out the Zoro to close out the game since I am still at 4 life. So our opponent gives 1 Dawn to the leader and swings 6 into the 5k Chopper. So in this case, I'm debating if I should counter out or not because I do have the 2k, and I am thinking that the 2k Sanji may not give too much value because the leader effect can play around the unblockables, being able to reroute the attack into a different character. So I just go ahead and give out the 2k to counter out and be able to have another character to be able to attack next turn. So in this case, I just go ahead and play out the 8 cost Dofi into the 5 cost Virgo, which is okay because in this case, I am not worrying about losing next turn. So since I can play the 9 cost Zoro in this turn, I just go ahead and attack with one of my Searcher Choppers because it is the only character that I can swing without investing Dawn. And I don't want to play anything out because I want to be able to attack with the rest of my board. So I just swing 5 to be able to replace 1 character on my board, play out the 9 cost Zoro, and use the leader effect to give out the rested Dawn to the other 4k characters. So I start off swinging with Human Joe, 5k into the leader, and I'm just going to proceed and swing 5k multiple times to be able to diminish the opponent's hand and be able to go for game next turn. So I go ahead and I replace Human Drill because I am not worried about blockers in the next turn, just because the opponent can just use Leader Effect to reroute into whatever I rest. So I play out the Odyssey Chopper to be able to restand another character and be able to have more options to be able to attack next turn. So the opponent takes the first 5, so I just go ahead and I swing 5 again with one of the Odyssey Choppers that I have available on the board. So the opponent currently has only 1 life and 4 cards in hand, and I still have 3 more attacks left, which are going to reduce the opponent's hand to only 1 card, or they take the life. So in this case, they concede, as they didn't have counter in their hand to be able to counter out on the next turn, since I had already played out this early. So with that, let's go ahead and into our next match. For the final match, we have Op-14 Croc. I think that Chopper has a pretty good matchup against Op-14 Croc, just because it is a slow deck that is just trying to get to the top end of the deck, and being a swarm deck, it is very difficult for them to keep up. So in our opening hand, we have the 3-cost Searcher Chopper, and we have quite a few 2Ks. And I think that Megalo is a pretty good card in this match, just because we're able to KO some of their characters without having to swing into them. So I went second in this match, which is not optimal because we don't have the Searcher event. However, it is fine. So we just go ahead and pass on our first turn because we have nothing to play. And our opponent just goes ahead and plays a Miss Valentine to be able to search. And they get a Miss Wednesday from the search. So in this case, we just go ahead and take the 7 that the opponent is going to be swinging, because we don't have to worry about countering this early, and we want to make sure that we have counter for our characters. So we just go ahead, I swing 6 to be able to start taking away the 2Ks that the opponent may have. And since our opponent doesn't play any cards that can KO, I just go ahead and play out the 3-cost Searcher Chopper in case I get the EB Chopper, so that I can swing 7K into the leader. So in this case, I went 6 and the opponent decided to counter out, which is fine. And we were able to play out a Human Drill, which is pretty good to be able to do a bit of board control going forward. So our opponent is already at 5 done. They have quite a bit of options to be able to play out. They have the Mr. 5 to be able to cycle their hand and be able to also block some of the attacks that are becoming next turn. So they went ahead and play out the Mr. 5, cycle their hand, and I guess they're swinging 5 into Human Drill, which in this case I'm going to be countering out of, because I want to be able to apply as much pressure as possible the next turn. So now, since we have the 5-cost Rush Luffy, we're able to swing 4 times this turn, which is pretty good to be able to start applying that pressure. So I just go ahead and I swing 6 with the Chopper and play out a EB01 blocker Chopper and keep maintaining the board state to be able to keep applying the pressure. So I go ahead and swing 6 with the Luffy, give out a Rested Dawn to my leader, and in this case I'm just trying to get the opponent to block with the Mr. 5 so that we can keep swinging alive. Unfortunately, he doesn't block, so I just go ahead and keep swinging 6s, which is just going to deplete our opponent's hand of the 2Ks. So I go ahead and swing another 6 with Human Drill. The opponent just gives me another 2K instead of blocking and giving it 1Ks. So it is better for us in the late game, since it is going to be easier to just math it out. So our opponent plays out the Miss Sunday, and they will probably be playing out a Miss Valentine from trash and a blocker if they have it. In this case, it seems that they didn't have good targets, so they just played out the Miss Valentine for the search, and then just played out a Miss Golden Week. So now our opponent decides to swing into our board with the Mr. 5. So he swings 6 into the human drill. And in this case, since our opponent doesn't have much characters on board, but they do still have a lot of life, I decide to counter out of this to be able to keep the pressure up with the characters that I have. And they only have an additional swing, which is the leader. And I have an additional 2k to be able to counter out as well. If you decide to go 5 into the Searcher Chopper, which is good for us because we can preserve the Mikolo to be able to either keep it as a 2k or play it to get rid of the Mr. 5 by resting it. However, if I play it, I will have to replace it whenever I swing with the Searcher Chopper. So I am debating if I should play it or not. So I'm just kind of mathing it out here to see how I should start swinging. So I just go ahead, give 2 down to the blocker chopper and swing 6. I decide to not play the Mikolo just so that I can keep it as a counter for later on. And I opt to just start going for life. So since they took the 6 from the blocker chopper, I minus the Mr. 5 and I just swing 5 with my leader since it was at 3k. And now I just go ahead and provide an additional 2 done or 1 into the Searcher Chopper to be able to swing another 6 and get another body from the top 5 of the deck. So since our opponent just gave us 2 1ks from all the early counter with all the 2ks, I can use that into my advantage to be able to get life out of the opponent quicker. So I swing 7, they take it. Now I use the final 2 down to swing 8 with the Luffy and drop the opponent to just 1 life. So they do get a trigger here, which is the Searcher. So they get another Crocodile from the Search. So now I know that they have 2 in their hand, which are 2 potential bricks. However, they can just play 1 out now and use leader effect to KO it and play it back to be able to stun 2 of the characters that I have right now. So they go ahead and they play it and they stun the blocker chopper from EBO1. And they go ahead, they use the leader effect to KO the Crocodile and just be able to play it back and then stun also the Luffy. So now we have 2 less characters that we're going to be able to swing with next turn, and our opponent has 2 attacks, being the Miss Sunday and also the leader. So it's kind of safe to assume that we're going to be losing at least 1 more character here, just because it is very difficult to counter out the AK swing of the Sunday and also the potential 6k from the leader. So our opponent decides to swing 5 into the human drill. So I decide to counter out this attack because it is a lot cheaper than the potential 9k from the Sunday. So I gave out the 2k human drill and our opponent decided to swing 8k into our life, which it's better for us because we can preserve our board. And in this case, I am not sure if I would have lethal here just because our opponent has a bunch of cards. They have a potential event as well and 1 life. So I go ahead and I play out the Megalo over the Luffy since the Luffy couldn't swing anyway, and I much rather have the blocker chopper in case the opponent survives this turn. So I play the Megalo to KO the Robin and then use leader effect to give out 3 out of the 4 rested Dawn that I had from playing the Megalo. So I play out the EBO2 chopper from the OPO8 chopper's effect, giving out the last rested Dawn to the chopper and swinging 7 into our opponent. They just give us the ground death event, so I just go ahead and swing another 7 with the Odyssey chopper, trying to get more cards out of the hand or the potential life. And in this case, since I am safe from lethal next turn, I just split between the 2 attacks that I currently have. Our opponent has already given us a bunch of 2Ks, so I doubt they have any more in this case. So I'm still debating if I should swing 7-7 or swing a bit lower with the human draw. However, I am not afraid of losing next turn, so I just decided to split so that I can potentially get 2 more cards from our opponent's hand. So I split, do the 7-7, and see what the opponent has. And they unfortunately don't have the counter for it, and we're able to close out this match as well. So as of now, I'm very happy with this list, and I think that is very competitive with some of the decks that we're going to be seeing going forward from Op-14. I do think that it can struggle a bit against the new Egghead Luffy just because of the 6 life, but I will keep on testing and keep you updated on any changes that I make to the list. So if you would like to stay up to date on the latest changes, make sure to like and subscribe. And in addition, I will also be working on a new Nico Robin list for the new EBO3 Hero in Battle. So I'm looking forward to that, and I will catch you all in the next one.